Hello, fight fans. Seattle Mike Fights with Friends. It is a new year, 2025, and we are going to look at the Featherweight Division today, and I will predict who I think will be the champion at the end of the year. Let's start by looking at the top 5. By the way, if you haven't watched my videos on flyweight and bantamweight yet, those predictions will have links at the end of the video, and you can watch those videos at your convenience. Yair Rodriguez kind of doesn't belong there, in my opinion. We'll come back to that. You got a couple of former champions on there and a couple of contenders. Of course, the champion being Ilia Topuria currently. And speaking of Yair Rodriguez, I got to defend Dana White here for a minute, because Dana White has talked about how goofy these AP rankings are, and this is a great example for me. Yair Rodriguez, he's lost 3 of his last 5. He's lost to both the former champions, Alex and Max. He's lost to Ortega. The first Ortega fight that you see there, that fight ended when Ortega injured his shoulder in the first round, so he didn't even really defeat him. In my opinion, Yair Rodriguez has defeated one guy in his last 5 fights, and that's almost 40-year-old Josh Emmett. And for that reason, Yair Rodriguez, you are eliminated. We'll go to number 4 on my list, the former champion. This is a guy, he was so good. He lapped the division. Remember, he was defeating everybody. I mean, they couldn't even find decent opponents for him. Everybody thought Brian Ortega coming up was going to test him, and he just beat the brakes off of Ortega and beat Aldo twice. Everybody's thinking, man, this guy, not only is he the best featherweight of all time, like we're going to be saying Max was the greatest featherweight of all time 15 years from now. Then, of course, you go back on the first fight of this 5-fight streak here, and Alexander Volkanovski comes up and he raises the bar higher. And after that, Ilia Topuria came and he raised the bar even higher. So kudos to the UFC for continuing to find new talent. When you think a division is stale, you think a division is dead, and somewhere they find these guys, they infuse talent in, and you have champions that you didn't think anybody was going to beat, and they end up getting knocked off. Brian Ortega. Next, he is number 3. I still put him above Max Holloway. He's defeated Max Holloway 3 times. 2 of these losses, I know he's lost 3 of his last 5 when you look at those, but 2 of those were at lightweight. That first one against Islam Makhachev, of course, a late notice fight that he darn near won. Then, of course, the second fight, he gets knocked out, and then he comes back against Ilia Topuria. And I'm going to say something about him, about Max, and there's several other examples out there. But when a guy is at a weight and he moves up, especially the lighter weight guys, he moves up and then he moves back down, it's almost never good. The results are almost never positive. And that's the case here. We've seen it in MMA. We've seen it in boxing. Think back to Roy Jones Jr. years back. Goes from light heavyweight, goes up to heavyweight, comes back down, never really looks the same. Max should have stayed at lightweight. It's probably where Volk belongs now too. Let's get into some prospects though, because the next guy on my list is on fire. Diego Lopes, 5 wins in a row, 3 finishes in a row with Tucker, Sabatini, and Youssef before increasing the competition against Dan Ige and Brian Ortega. The guy looks improved every time out. I don't think this guy has reached his maximum potential. He might not even be 80% there. We're seeing new creases in his game every time he comes out. Who knows how good this guy could be, but he could be the future of the division, and I know I'm not the only one that thinks that. But next, we're going to go to the guy that I'd say is number 2 in the division. He's number 4 on the rankings, which proves those guys don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's Movsar Evloev. The guy's won 9 in a row. He's undefeated in the UFC. He's 19-0 for his career. How do you still have the guy at number 4? I have no idea. He's got a victory over Diego Lopes, which puts him up above. Lopes, of course, he's fought a lot of tough guys. His last fight was his toughest fight. It should have been. It's his biggest win against a former champion, Aljamain Sterling. It was a close fight. I know a lot of people thought he actually lost that fight. I was one of those, but it wasn't a close enough fight where I was going to say, hey, you know, this is a robbery or something. It was more, you know, just a matter of opinion. Very tough fight to call. A couple knocks on Evloev that he might not even get a title shot this year, though. I know that sounds crazy on a 9-fight win streak, but he hasn't finished one opponent in the UFC. 9 fights in the UFC, he hasn't finished any of them. That's a problem. That's not a guy Dana wants to represent the belt. I know he's faced very tough opponents, especially, you know, his last 5. He may get the shot. He may not. Let's look at what Vegas says, though, for futures. So this is what Vegas says. According to DraftKings, the odds are, if you're going to pick Yair Rodriguez, please don't. That would be an idiotic move, but you're going to get 30-1. Max, you're going to get 11-1. He's most likely not going to compete at featherweight again, so don't waste your money. Same thing with Volkanovski. I don't really see Volk getting another shot at the title if he does go back down to featherweight, which I don't think he should. Then Diego Lopes, we talked about him. Those odds, I would put them closer to like a plus 550 or 6. I don't think he gets the shot this year. You know, maybe if Evloev gets it and Evloev loses, I mean, Topuria's got to fight twice, so hey, you know, maybe he gets the fight. I don't think Lopes is quite there where Topuria is either. Lopes is continuing to get better, but Topuria seems to be getting better as well too, which is scary for everyone. And I think Topuria is also better than the number 2 guy, Movsar Evloev. Hard to say that with too much confidence because they're both undefeated, but just the fact Ilia, I mean, he can finish anybody. He defeats anybody. Nobody's even close. Defeats Josh Emmett, knocks out Alexander Volkanovski, knocks out Max Holloway. For those reasons, I believe Ilia Topuria will still be featherweight champion at the end of 2025. And for the futures we've done so far, I'm not a big fan of those futures, but at minus 175, Ilia Topuria is probably your best bet. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments, though. Do you think Diego Lopes maybe comes up and be champion? Maybe Movsar Evloev gets the shot and he defeats Ilia Topuria? Or do you think something completely different than me? Maybe, you know, Yair Rodriguez goes on a 3-fight win streak and gets a title shot at the end of the year. Something wild like that. It's not impossible that Volkanovski gets another shot at the title. I think he'd need an impressive win, but he's just had the one. Max is not going to fight at featherweight again. I'm just about 100% confident on that, but I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Like I said, watch the other videos. We have the flyweight and bantamweight videos at the link at the end of this video. As always, I love you. I respect you. And I'm looking forward to calling more fights for your fine asses in 2025.